No escape from this dying earth. In a previous post, I mentioned some of the problems facing the world's peoples and governments. Not just industrial contamination and toxic waste, but radioactive waste too. There is acid rain caused by atmospheric pollutants, which is killing the forest. The lumber and paper industry is depleting the world's forest. The amount of arable land is also diminishing. Our lakes, rivers, and seas are contaminated, and the fish are dying. The fishing industry has depleted the supply of seafood. To all of this, add the fact that the world's population has grown to the point that we have now exceeded, or soon will exceed, the Earth's capacity to support our population. All these problems make men look to the moon and to Mars as possible homes. For many years, science fiction has been offering the hope that men can travel in space and establish colonies on planets around distant stars, or build habitats or space stations in space. Can mankind escape from this dying Earth and spread his seed across 1,000 stars and thus proclaim himself immortal? In a word, no. Mankind cannot escape from Earth for several reasons, and I will attempt to describe some of these. First, yes, we do have the ability to send vehicles, unmanned craft, to Mars and beyond. However, there is a practical limit to that ability. One problem is the vehicle size, time to destination, and supply of food, water, and fuel. Another problem is the nature of the human body. Although we can send an unmanned ship to Mars in 7 or 8 months, the manned trip will take longer due to the size and mass of the manned vehicle. The manned trip to Mars will take about 18 months. Since the first trip must be full return capability, the ship will need to carry food, air, and water for about 38 to 40 months. The 528-day trip out, 90 to 120 days wait for the return window, and then 528 days return for about 1,164 days. Altogether, it is estimated that for a crew of 6, you would need 5.5 million pounds of supplies. The shuttle can carry 6 people, but only lift about 50,000 pounds of fuel and supplies. In order to carry 5.5 million pounds of food, supplies, and fuel, the ship itself would need to be 110 times larger than the shuttle. It would take about 110 shuttle trips to lift the supplies up to the ship. The ship itself would need to be assembled in space. The 110 trips to lift the supplies does not include putting the ship's components into orbit. The people who would build a ship would also need to be put into space. Still, these problems do not make the trip impossible. They could be overcome with enough industrial effort supported by government money. What makes the trip impossible is the nature of the human body. First, living in microgravity triggers muscle loss, so the astronauts must exercise at least 2 hours each day. Second, in low gravity, the body loses calcium, a mineral necessary for strong bones, at the rate of nearly 1% per month. Also, the radiation encountered in space causes bone loss. Quote, a single dose of radiation approaching what will be faced by long-term space travelers to the moon or Mars causes as much as 39% spongy bone loss in mice. End quote. See the recent study on bone loss in mice exposed to radiation, article by Ted Bateman at Clemson University. No, man will not build a colony on the moon. No, man will not build an artificial habitat in space. No, man will not establish a colony on Mars. No, man will not escape from this dying Earth. The present NASA plan to launch manned trips to the moon and Mars is nothing more than a Potemkin village.